I put my kids to sleep. I was cleaning up the kitchen, and I went and sat on the couch, and there was a fire going. I was living in the Pacific Northwest at the time, and I was tired. It was the end of the day, but I wasn't ready to go to sleep. And my kids were kind of goofing around in the bedroom, and I was teasing them, saying, I'm going to come in there, and so they settled down and got really quiet. I knew they fell asleep. And I started thinking about all the things that I had to do. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. Tomorrow I got to do this. The horse is about ready to give birth, all this stuff. And the fire was going, and I must have just been in the right state where I was gazing into the fire, and I kind of moved into trance. And I think one of the best ways to induce trance is when you're looking at something that isn't predictable, like there's novelty involved, whether it's the waves rolling in, flickers of flame, or an aquarium where, creatures are moving about. Somehow we kind of pause for a minute and we go into that kind of alpha state. So I was tired. My brain chemistry probably was changed. I wasn't ready to go to sleep, but my body was tired and I was awake. And I was just thinking about those derivatives and those metabolites, and I started fishing around with my awareness. And I said to myself, to my pineal gland, where are you anyway? That's just what I said. Where are you? And I kind of fished around in there. And the moment I made my attention connected to it, it was like a three-dimensional screen opened up, and I saw this gland, and its mouth was in spasm. And I saw this white milky substance coming out of the gland, and I just was like, wow. And then it switched, and there was a timepiece that was probably 15 feet tall I was standing in front of. I remember the crystalline colors on the glass. I've never seen colors. I don't know how to describe it. It's not in the color range that we know, but it was colors. And I could see the Roman numerals on every one of that numbers on the timepiece. And it was brilliant. It was light. And all of a sudden, I see the hands of the clock quickly start rolling backwards in time. And the moment I see that hands of the clock going backwards in time, I'm thinking, while it's happening, I have the realization, oh my God, the pineal gland is a biological timepiece that allows us to travel forwards and backwards in time. I just had the thought, like, oh, that's what it is. And as it's winding backwards, I realize I'm moving through time. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm present, but I'm moving through time. And as I move through time, I'm experiencing spaces or dimensions. And they're all stacked up on top of each other. And I run through my whole life till I'm about a 9-year-old kid. And I land in my bedroom. Now I'm Joe Dispenza at that time. In my bedroom, as conscious as I am right now, probably more, looking at myself laying in the bed. And when I was a kid, I really liked having fevers because I would go super lucid. And so I was having a fever, and my mother had just left the room. She closed the door, and she said to my father, he's burning up. And then she would always give me like aspirin or baby aspirin or whatever. And I would always fake like I would take it, and I put it in my flannel pockets and my pajamas, and I never took it because I didn't want to miss the trip. Like I did not want to miss the flight. So anyway, so here I am watching myself. I have the covers right up to my nose. It's dark in my room, but I can see myself. My mother closes the door, and I'm looking at myself as a 9-year-old kid, and at the same time, I'm re-experiencing that moment. I'm 9 years old again, and I'm deeply involved in trying to figure out how time works, and I'm seeing it as this three-dimensional chessboard, but they're not cubes. They're kind of more like honeycombs, and I'm watching when we change how that affects reality, and it's just all mathematical. And I'm 9 years old, and I'm doing this, and I'm standing over myself, and I fall in love with this kid. I just start laughing. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to become you. Like, he's definitely going to become you. Because I'm still doing that right now, and so I look at him and I shake my head, and the moment I fall in love with him, I know that he's going to become me. I know that. And I know that the love that I'm having for him in that moment is actually what's drawing him towards me as my future self. Not as my Joe Dispenza then. I just realized there's a bigger thing involved that I just had a moment of outside of time. I was outside of time. Not this kind of time. I was outside of time. In fact, I was in two places simultaneously conscious, So anyway, I fall in love with this guy, and then I realize I'm going to become him, and I know that somehow my future self is drawing him to me in love. And then all of a sudden I look up and there's the clock again, and all of a sudden I start seeing it moving forward in time. And I'm just like, oh no, we're going forward in time. And all of a sudden I land on my ranch in the Northwest, and I'm walking with this long cape in the back pastures. I'm coming through the back pastures where the mares are, and I cross through the gate, and I come through the gardens, and I'm barefoot. And it's a November evening, and there's a blanket of prisms of frost along the carpet of the grass, and I can see it go on as the moon hits it. And I'm walking barefoot, and the ground is ice cold, and it feels amazing. Like it felt like I was part of the whole. Like the cold was pleasurable to me. I didn't have an aversion to it. I was part of nature, was part of me. I was connected. I don't know how to describe it. There was a reverence with my feet on the earth. It was just a whole different experience that I've ever had. And I love nature. And so I walk through the gardens, and I walk across these basalt stones that I had built into a fireplace. And as I crossed the stones, the moment I touched the stones, I don't know how to say this, except I knew they knew me, and I knew them, and they were noble, and I was noble, and we had this very strong moment, this connection. They were conscious. Let me just say that. And I was conscious that they were conscious, and they were so happy to be where they were to serve me. I don't know how to say this in words. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty exalted. And I walk over to this fountain where there's a beautiful seating area, and I had all this wisteria growing. And I built this fountain with my brother, and I stopped. I had the cape I was wrapped around, and I stopped, and I looked at the fountain, and I just started laughing. Like, I remember when we built this thing. And then all of a sudden, behind the fountain comes this little woman, and again, she was colors of light I had never seen in my life, and she was radiant and glowing, and she was like about this big, really small, and there was a steward that was kind of behind her that followed her. I don't know, maybe a mentor, but someone that was kind of protecting her. And she just kind of walked out from behind the fountain, and she just looked at me. Now, I was feeling pretty good. I thought I was enlightened. I thought I was there. And she looked at me, and in an instant, she hit me in the heart with a level of love that was probably 1,000 times greater than what I was feeling in that moment. And then when it hit me in the heart, the thought on that she was transmitting to me is there is always more love. And I was just like, oh my God, how foolish, how arrogant of me, how small-minded of me. And I was feeling pretty good. Like, you would be like, wow, this is great. And she was telling me there was more love. And it hit me so strong in the heart that it kind of awakened me. And then I kind of glanced over, and as I glanced over, as my future self, I'm looking at my current self washing dishes in the kitchen moments before I laid on the couch. And I just kind of crossed my arms, and I take a moment, I look at this guy, and there he is again, like same guy, like he's washing dishes, and he's trying to dovetail all these concepts. He's got all these thoughts on his mind. He's trying to figure it all out. I see his strengths. I see his weaknesses. I see his sincerity. He's me. And I just look at this guy, and I fall in love with him. Now my heart is really expanded in that moment. And so I have a very strong feeling of love for him. And I forgot this, but when I was washing the dishes, all of a sudden I felt this crazy feeling while I was washing the dishes. Like, I felt like, what the hell? And I thought, is somebody looking at me outside? And I kind of tried to lean and look out the window, but the light from the kitchen was creating like a reflection, so I could only see myself. And then I thought, well, there's dogs on the property. It's a ranch. There was somebody out there, they'd be going off, So I just kind of looked like that, and I just kind of went back to washing dishes, Anyway, so then I came to, and I think the most powerful part of this whole entire thing was that feeling that I had in my chest. Like, that feeling lingered for about 2 weeks. And then I started thinking, like, what is reality? Was that real? How could I feel such a strong emotion from something that I don't know, that I didn't experience in three-dimensional reality? And then, so that furthered my investigation, both in the research department of the pineal gland, but then also a lot of the mystical understandings that so many cultures had around this, pine cone shaped gland that somehow has all kinds of wonderful effects on the human biology. And it's called the third eye. I don't know, I call it the first eye.